morning. Today I'm talking about things that you might be believing about boundaries that could actually be harming you, that are not true. So I'm going to bust some of those myths here. But first, before I do that, in case you're new to my page, I want to introduce myself. My name is Lindsay O'Brien, and I am a coach and an energy healer. And I help women heal from toxic relationships so they can feel free, happy, and empowered to reclaim their lives. And this week, I'm actually giving away 3 free discovery sessions. So if you are interested in working with me, send me a message. These are sessions where we go deep into what you're struggling with specifically and come up with a plan to move you forward so you can finally break free of things like trauma bonds and let go of a lot of that baggage that you've been carrying around from these toxic relationships. Okay, so let's get started. So things that you might be believing about boundaries that could be harming you. So the first one is, if I set boundaries, I will hurt people. A lot of us believe that and are conditioned to believe that if we set limits with people, it's going to hurt them. And a lot of us are also kind, compassionate people, and so we don't want to be hurting someone, and so we tend to shy away from setting limits and boundaries. But what I want to clear up here is that boundaries are not mean or hurtful. And if you get very, very clear on what the specific definition of a boundary is, it's a limit. It's meant to protect you, okay? So sometimes when you set boundaries, yes, they may hurt people, but you're not purposely being hurtful. You're protecting yourself. And the other side of this looks like when you are not having boundaries and you're pretty much sacrificing yourself for other people, then you actually end up being like a martyr. And this is never something that you want to do. In relationships with people, there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance of taking care of yourself while also considering the other person. So boundaries are not meant to be hurtful. They're not meant to control. They're not meant to attack or hurt anyone. They are meant to protect you from getting taken advantage of, to protect you from getting hurt, okay? So that's it. If you were conditioned to believe that boundaries are going to hurt people, not true. Again, sometimes they may, but your primary goal is to protect yourself. When you're in a healthy relationship, this is different, but I'm talking about boundaries in general. So another thing that I wanted to talk about today is kind of on the same topic. You might be thinking that boundaries are mean or selfish. And it's similar to what I talked about before. Protecting yourself and your energy is not selfish. It's not selfish at all. It's not mean either. It actually helps people to know your limits so they clearly have an idea of what is okay with you and what is not. Now, if you are dealing with someone who has a high conflict personality, then this might be difficult for them. But these kinds of people are exactly who you need the boundaries for. And they might tell you things like that your boundaries are mean or that they're selfish. Don't believe them. Don't believe them. It's not a healthy way to look at boundaries and behaviors. It's actually, in the long run, better for people and better for you if you let people know what your limits are and you take good care of yourself. You know, if you are constantly overextending yourself and not having good boundaries, then you burn yourself out and you don't do anyone any good. So it's much better in the long run for you to have boundaries and limits with people so you can show up healthy and energized. That's ideally what we want here. So again, boundaries are not mean or selfish. Okay, Another thing that people believe about boundaries that may actually be harming them is that boundaries are permanent and forever. But this is not true either. Boundaries can change at any time. The point of a boundary is it's your own personal limit. It's personal. And so this can change from person to person and along the period of time that you're interacting with this person. So while you may have a stronger boundary with someone today, in a year or two, things might be different. They might have changed, you might have changed, you might have healed, they might have healed. So the boundaries don't need to be the same. And I say that this can sometimes be harming you because, if, let's say, for example, you are coming out of a toxic relationship, you might need to have really, really strong boundaries while you're in that really vulnerable place and you're healing. But while you are going through that healing process and you want to be spending some more time on your own, eventually you're going to heal and you're going to come out of that healing process and you're going to want to connect with people more. So your boundaries are going to change, and oh, I forgot to tell you. So why is this harmful? In the long run, if you have boundaries that are too high, to the extent where nobody can get in, even the healthy people that want to have good, loving relationships with you, that could be harming you. So I hope this is making sense. So the boundaries are meant to change. They are not meant to be permanent, inflexible things. So you wanna modify your boundaries depending on the situation and the person that you're dealing with. And then the last thing I want to talk about boundaries is that some people believe and will promote the idea that there should be no boundaries in romantic relationships. Like the idea that true love has no limits and no boundaries and we should basically be enmeshed with each other. This isn't true, okay? So love doesn't mean that I will do anything that you want me to at any time, okay? So even in romantic relationships, it's really important to preserve our time and our energy. So if you're in a relationship and you, for example, need some time alone away from your partner, it's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay to have that boundary. And again, if someone is pushing against it and saying, no, you're supposed to be spending all of your time with me, or they're, being very jealous in the relationship and not letting you do your own thing or have your own limits, that is not a healthy dynamic, okay? And some people can be very convincing about this and say, well, no, I love you. We should be together all the time. We should be doing all these things together. No. Even in love, like I said before, we need to preserve our time and our energy. So just like in our other relationships, we can't show up well in the long run if we are overextended, if we are not taking time for our own self-care, for rest, for some time alone. So it really isn't true that there should be no boundaries in relationships. So yeah, my big thing here is that if you have any sort of belief that a boundary is mean or selfish or unkind or it's going to hurt someone, take that belief and throw it in the garbage, because it's not true. It's part of your conditioning. A lot of women get it, that we need to be endlessly accommodating and nice all the time. Not true though. I did another video a while ago about how the right partner for you will actually want you to have good boundaries because they have their own boundaries that they want respected. Okay? So keep that in mind as you go about your relationships and practice setting and enforcing boundaries. The right person will want you to have them. All right. Alright guys, thanks for watching here. So if you missed it earlier, I'm giving away 3 free discovery sessions. So if you're interested in working with me, please send me a message and we will get you guys on the schedule. Okay, talk to you soon.